Okay, so Mark here from Rock and Load. This evening, I am joined by none other than Sean Van Vleet, Chicago indie rocker, former frontman of Empires, has a new audacious project called Blame My Youth. The guys land in the UK next week for a 7-date run of dates across the UK, kicking off in Glasgow. So let's find out more about this from the man himself. Sean, how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm doing great, man. Just waking up, had a sip of coffee. I'm doing good, man.
Best way to start the day.
Fired up.
Best way to start the day for sure. So what time is it?
IV.
What time is it over there?
9, a little after 9.
Oh,
in the morning.
Nightmare.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying until about 10. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, imagine signing up for an interview at 9 o'clock in the morning. You're not wise.
It's just not the life that I signed up for.
No, for sure. So Sean, tell me a little bit about yourself. Obviously, Blame My Youth is a new project, but already hit the ground running. But you have a history with obviously a relatively successful band from Chicago before. So, like, what's the background to yourself and what got you into music in the first place?
Yeah, man. Well, I started actually. What got me into music was my grandpa came over from Ireland and started an Irish bagpipe band.
Oh yeah.
In Chicago. And my uncle was a drummer, and I always thought that was cool. So I started playing his drum, and then I joined the band when I was like 14, 15 years old. So I was in an Irish bagpipe band as a drummer. And that was the introduction to music for me.
Yeah.
There's some good pictures out there too.
It didn't put you off it for life doing that.
No, I can always go back. But yeah, so that's what kind of started music for me. And then I started Empires like in Chicago, and we were pretty much a ping pong ball in between like New York and LA, touring kind of nonstop, doing all of our records DIY. And we did that for like 7 or so years. And then towards the end of that, it was like 2015, I found out that you could like write songs and other people like as a career, and other people could like sing your songs. And in Chicago, I never knew that because I always just wrote my own songs.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song for my publisher at the time who published Empires, and the band passed on it. And she's like, "Do you mind if we pitch this for a TV show?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever that means." And then it ended up, Courtney Love ended up singing the song that I like wrote in my parents' bedroom. And it was on the show Empire, coincidentally enough. So that kind of got me out in LA, and I'm like, man, I can do this. So I came out to LA, and I just kind of jumped in and started writing songs with a bunch of different bands. And I did that for like 5 years or so, just as a writer with different artists. And I'm still doing that, and I'm madly in love with that. But right before pandemic, I kind of got the itch to scream again. And then pandemic came, and I found my outlet in Blame My Youth to let out some pandemic angst. So the band just kind of happened from there, and it's been fucking awesome.
It's really
awesome.
Yeah, it's really taken off. I was surprised, obviously, that the band was so fresh, kicking off in 2020, and obviously mid-pandemic as well, trying to launch a band and start in such a weird and wonderful time. It must have been quite an experience.
Yeah, man, it was pretty nuts. We also had our first child at the same time, so I'm like, have a kid, start a band. Let's go. Yeah. There are no rules. So yeah, no, it was, my drummer who I was playing with in Empires, Mike, and he actually lives, which is weird for LA, he lives 5 houses away. So he's also in the band. He could probably hear me from here. So we had this little thing shut down, but like Mike and I were right here, and we linked up with Will and Julio, and we just have like and Julio played with our bass player Julio. He played with Empires as well. So I just some of the old guys.
Okay.
And we just have a really good chemistry. So man, and now we're coming to the UK. Our whole plan actually when we started this was to go international. That was our motto. I did a lot of touring in the States, and I still love doing it. But Empires only went to Canada. We never really got out of the States. So I watched a lot of Train Spotting when we started this. Man, and that was kind of the catalyst between Train Spotting and Big Lebowski, right?
The worst kind of education. Definitely the worst kind of education.
I know, but for some dark, twisted reason, I'm very inspired. So when I was writing those first Blame My Youth songs, I was watching that a lot, and I'm like, man, I just want to go play Glasgow. I want to go play Scotland. and then like our fifth show ever is going to be in Scotland.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad.
So it's kind of working out.
And it's crazy that again, even in the 7 dates that you have in the UK, 5 of them are sold out already, which is unbelievable. So have you found a transfer of fans coming from the Empires, or is it just all new, fresh faces for Blue?
This is all going to be fresh because we actually didn't sell that out ourselves. I'd love to claim that. The band The Score, who's taken us, they sold that out.
Okay.
They sold out they actually had that sold out before we jumped on. So it's a really cool opportunity for us. So I don't even know if like anybody who knows us can't really go to those shows. They're going to play for all their fans. And it's a cool opportunity for us to do that.
And what about the music now compared to Empires? Is there a different vibe? Do you feel like there's an LA vibe compared to the Chicago, which may be a little bit grittier?
There hasn't been an LA vibe yet, but the next song has a mad SoCal vibe for sure. Yeah. The next one called "They Only Love You When You're Dead." Well, I don't know what the title is. That's the chorus line. It'll probably be called "They Only Love You When You're Dead." There hasn't been much of that. I mean, I was in Chicago for like 3/4 of my life, no more than that, like 32 years. So I spent. Yeah. It's hard to shake that, and like everybody else, nobody's from here. So it's not much of a. There's just we put a little bit. We sprinkled a little bit of that SoCal vibe on the next track, but hasn't been. You know, it's a lot louder than Empires, and the choruses are really unapologetically like huge.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we go for.
And if with like the likes of the Empires, for example, would you have said that would have been a stereotypical Chicago indie rock sound? Did Chicago have a certain sound to the rock scene?
Not really. It's such a melting pot. Chicago's kind of like, I mean, Midwest takes from all over the country, right? All over the world. So it just, all these different styles melt. I remember at the end, like, Chicago has had like an amazing house scene for so long. It has a DIY punk scene. Also the hip hop scene, like with Chance the Rapper and Common and Kanye and all that. Like all that stuff was like stuff we listened to. But man, I don't know. I wish I could tell you that I drew my inspiration from the water, like it was in the water. It was in Lake Michigan, but I don't know if Chicago had much to do with the sound for Empires.
Yeah,
but there was a scene for sure. There were bands. There was bands that we like teamed up with and played with. So we had a little scene, but we didn't sound anything like each other.
Okay, cool. And the new project then. So what about the songwriting for this here? How do you guys approach that?
So yes, I have like a couple of people that I collaborate with that I met out here. So when I got out here, I was writing for a bunch of different artists and some pop stuff, a lot of alternative stuff. And I met a couple of people, and we like were writing for other people, and like we have a good chemistry. So it started with that song "Fantastic," and I had that chorus idea, and I brought it in, and my buddy Nolan, who we've written for some other artists. We got some stuff with like Fitz. And the Tantrums coming out, and like we've just like have a good chemistry. But anyways, for that song "Fantastic," my buddy Nolan, who we had chemistry with, I'm like, dude, what do you think about this? And then we just kind of wrote that song together. So I have my partners out here, and then my buddy Greg Holden, who I've written a ton of stuff with. He's actually from the UK, so he adds that flavor. Yeah, so we wrote "Dance with My Demons" together. And those two guys and a few other guys I just kind of have a really tight circle of people that I write. But whereas Empires was always just me writing alone in my room for so long, and then bringing it to the band, and then we sussed out all the music. This is a little bit different process. This is way more collaborative.
Yeah,
and it makes it fun for me.
Yeah, it's a different vibe because obviously it seems to be something that's very popular in the Nashville scene as well. Obviously, musicians sitting around tables and collaborating, and writing for other artists, and even just expansively writing. It must be something. It must be quite an education as well, as far as approaching songwriting and the structure of songs.
Oh yes, man. I live and die by the song. I just like kind of worship the song, so to speak. And I've never done that more so than living out here in LA. And I go to Nashville a lot. I'm signed. My label, my whole team is Nashville based, and my producer Joey Moi is, he's Nashville. He does, he did a lot of rock stuff early on. Now he's like king of country there.
Yeah.
So like this whole project is so song focused. Like it's just way more than like Empires was very much like the heart and the soul alone, like the alienation, like just the poetry, and like there's a beautiful like indie rock vibe going on that stuff. And this is more like this is just way more let's get to the hook. I know what Blame My Youth is. Blame My Youth is like a hopeful hangover. Like I know, like it's like, you know, everything is like kind of like Dance with Your Demons, Own Your Dark Side, and it's all got a little positive twist. I don't know if They Only Love You When You're Dead has a positive twist yet, but it seems to like it seems to calm my anxiety. But yeah, this is just, you know, yeah, this so songs focused.
Yeah. And you said, were you starting to think about the band just before the pandemic, or was it more of a product of the pandemic itself?
Yeah. It was a little bit before the pandemic. Like that's when an idea was getting kicked around, and started writing a little bit. I think I wrote that song Fantastic before the pandemic, but it was really the pandemic that really fueled that. I really got in and wrote some more songs, and because we were doing like, I was doing some Zoom writes for some artists. But it got me to like come in to just go more into myself and come up with hooks, vibes, concepts that I want Blame My Youth, that are Blame My Youth. So and plus, man, you're all cooped up, and it felt really good to start screaming at about like June or July 2020.
Cathartic experience, getting it out again.
Yeah.
And like how did you get the traction for the band then during a time when obviously everybody was locked down and couldn't really access anything?
We put out our first song, Fantastic, and then Demons we put out. Those videos gained a lot of traction like right away. We did when we shot, I mean, the video, I'm super proud of the work that was done on those, and they were kind of shared a lot. They got a bunch of views. And then Fantastic, the label did a radio campaign. It was an active rock radio campaign, which we never thought we would go that direction, but it went to like, it didn't go very high. It went to like number 30. But when we played our first show at Loudon Life Festival in Kentucky, there was like 500 to 800 people all singing almost all the songs, but especially that one, maybe 1,000. I mean, the crowd was a lot bigger than that, but there was a lot of people that were actually singing every lyric. So I think that radio campaign really helped, at least for like around the States, and the YouTube videos.
Yeah. And like, I'm always fascinated about how American bands approach trying to build an audience, because the country is so big. Like what is the route that you guys traditionally take to try and get yourself out there?
Traditional is touring. Like that's what we did. That's what Empires did. We went, we'd play Philadelphia to 10 people. And then, the next time we come through, there's like 25 people. And then sooner or later you go there 8 to 10 times and you finally sell out a little venue and there's 200 people there and you have Beatlemania because you put in all that work. But yeah, it's really touring. And I actually think with how insane, like, right now everything's so globalized and everything's right in your face, and social media, you can go everywhere. But I still think with rock, the live aspect is everything. So we're gonna go back to what we know. We're gonna tour. We have dates. We have a lot of dates coming up and a lot of potential stuff coming up. And we're just doing this the old school way. We're just gonna get out there and play shows.
And does the day job of the writing for other artists, does that interfere at all with the plans for global domination with Blame My Youth?
It doesn't interfere. It's more like global domination with Blame My Youth interferes with the songwriting.
Yeah.
But you know what? I find ways to write on the road. I love the balance back and forth. So I like some tours we have coming up. We're actually actually for this tour, our driver, the band Kid Capici?
Yeah.
He's driving us, Jack. Like they reached out. We're fans of theirs, and we became friends with them. And Jack's gonna drive us, which is awesome. And he doesn't know this, but I totally have plans to try to write a song with him.
Oh yeah.
So on the road, because I think that band's awesome. So we've become buddies at this point. So he's going to show us around, show us some pubs, show us some she'll give us the UK experience, and I'm going to try to write some songs with him.
Yeah.
I haven't met him yet. But
as long as you don't have a train spotting experience, you'll be fine. You'll make it out alive.
We won't have one of those. I think that's the goal. That's the early years, man. That's the early years. The 20s are done.
Yeah. And so
you must stick around now.
I know. Especially when you have kids as well, you have to prioritize these things. And so
that's how it goes.
You were saying this is your first time then out of the States with a band, so you're touring the UK for the first time.
Yep. I personally played one show in Dublin with a band called Nudes and Oliver Tree. That was my only time I ever, like, we went out, and I played 3 songs in Dublin, and it was the best 3 minutes of my life, or like 6 minutes of my life. And I said I wanted to go do this with my band, so I was just like singing with Nudes. But like, I've been wanting to get back, and unfortunately, we're not going to Dublin this run. But this is the first time I'm playing shows in the UK.
Yeah. And what's your expectation then of the UK crowds?
I just hope there's a lot of beer drinking and a lot of screaming.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
That's a guarantee in the UK. There's no fear about that.
That's all I can hope for.
Yeah, no.
Then we're gonna do a little pub. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the UK is obviously UK's been open now for live gigs for a while, so the scene is really, really active and really busy. So there's a real appetite for it over here.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a big garbage truck going by. They keep Los Angeles beautiful.
Yeah, somebody has to. What's on the cards next for you guys? Just dropped the EP there, so have you already started working on new music then for another recording?
Oh yeah. I'm most excited. The music we're very excited about what's next. That, like I said, that song, that Dead song, and then there's a song called Island tentatively right now, and there's a couple of songs. One called Stupid Human. I tracked these already. Yeah. So we're getting mixes, working with Joey on finalizing those, and we should have a song coming out in the next month. So,
and what do you think of the approach? What should the approach be with a modern day music band? Like, is it dropping single after single, or do you prefer the old school approach of an album? Yeah,
I think there's no rules anymore. I mean, of course, I prefer the album, but I don't think it matters. I mean, yeah. I think what I do. Let me take that back. Making an album with your band is like an incredible experience, and what we do this for that experience, right? So I think albums are awesome because it's just it's a body of work that has a complete thread and a time and a special, like, just magic dust over it between you and your mates, your friends, and that is special. Once you get that out of your system, single, just throw songs in that big beautiful green waterfall that is Spotify, little drops, and just keep them coming. Honestly, I think the more, like, our band isn't working this way, but I think for a young band that you can't really do too much. It's just like TikTok. You can't put up too much. You can gain traction on one little thing. I mean, I'm so old school. I don't like even use any of that. Like, I have to do what I fell in love with doing, and that's making albums and bodies of work, and then spending time with like singles and not being on TikTok all the time. That's just how I operate. But I think kids should show their process. Like, young people starting bands, show their process, show how you make your album, and put out a lot of music. You can really go no wrong,
Yeah. And how
really
how do you guys find the new modern music industry, like, compared to what it would have been like 20 years ago or more? Is it hard for you guys to navigate, or you just one day at a time?
One day at a time. As a songwriter, it's interesting because there's times when you're writing right now, and artists will go ahead and, like, you'll write a song, and then they will, like, go on TikTok and just kind of show the song, and then you're really not even finished with it. You're just kind of seeing what people think. And I've learned to think that process is pretty badass, because that your fans are your A&R. They actually know. They actually, like, enough people, and you get the right answer. It kind of seems. Yeah. I mean, initially it took me a while to like that, because, like, a lot of times in the song you could, like, make a last second. You could tweak a little bit of a lyric or something, and it makes the whole thing fly. So, it's a little bit of a mess, but it's a massive difference right now. Obviously, social media has changed the entire world, everything. And so that's the biggest difference in everything, let alone, the music industry.
Yeah. And do you think your own relationship with the music industry has changed now that your role within it has changed as a songwriter and collaborator, rather than just being, say, a front man of a band?
Yes, for sure. Yes. But I'm, you know, I actually like kind of over the moon with I look at like living in LA and the music industry as a complete playground. I like absolutely love this. Like before I got into this industry, before I started bands, I was working at Coca-Cola and UPS, and I had good jobs, but those are like jobs you're waking up at 5 a.m. and like just working. And that was like kind of going to be my path. And so I keep pinching myself because I get to do, the industry is crazy, right? You have a lot of people saying no, right? But I kind of thrive on like every yes is on a mountain of no's. And I kind of love that. So I actually love the industry. My relationship, I didn't have a relationship. To answer your question, I didn't have a relationship with the industry really when I was in my band. My manager did. Yeah. I just had a relationship with the band. Now it's like I have relationships all over, and I love it. Yeah. Now the industry, I'm just so into this, what makes songs go. Yeah. It's a little different than Blame My Youth. Blame My Youth is still, let's get up there, scream, and be like, tap into what our 16-year-old spirit and just kind of go nuts. With the industry, songwriting industry is, for me, it's different. It's work, and I love it.
Do you think the experience of the time spent working as a frontman in a band has prepared you for this role that you're doing now? Or do you think maybe you should have jumped into this role years ago?
For sure. No, for sure. I think, like, man, I connect with artists because I know what it's like to get in a Econoline E350 and like go crash on floors and play to people that don't care or people that do care, and like all the things that happen, the struggle that Empires had to go through. Now I feel like I could put my arm around like certain artists and be like, yo, this shit's actually kind of awesome when you look back. And and then seeing what works, like playing live, seeing what kind of songs work. Like now when I write, I imagine how the crowd's going to feel. So that's like, I didn't ever really do that early on when I was in the band. They're really making LA beautiful today. They're just the second garbage truck that's going by. But yeah, I and the garbage truck just derailed my train of thought, like the last one.
good times in LA.
Yeah, good times in LA, man.
Well, Sean, look, I won't keep you any longer because I know you're fighting too many dump trucks there. So, look, great talking to you, and obviously, best of luck with the project. It sounds fascinating. The music's great, by the way. It's such a strong EP. Thank you, man. So you guys have hit the ground running, and obviously it's just going to go on an upwards trajectory from here.
Dude, so awesome talking with you, dude. Thank you. Pleasure.
No problem. Catch you on the other side, man. Hopefully talk to you again.
All right, my man.
Take care. Thanks,
Have a good one.
Cheers. Bye.